Everyone thought my family was unbreakable, until my grandfather's funeral turned into a public trial and exposed secrets that had been buried for decades. My grandfather was the kind of man people described as solid. Military background, quiet authority, the one everyone deferred to without questioning why. He built the house our entire family orbited around, hosted every major holiday, paid for emergencies without ever talking about it. Growing up, I thought stability just existed naturally, like gravity. I didn't understand it was enforced. When he died, the funeral was packed. Old friends, former coworkers, distant relatives who suddenly remembered we existed. People hugged, cried, told the same 3 stories about his discipline and generosity. On the surface, it was respectful, almost textbook. Underneath, something felt off. Conversations stopped when certain people walked by. Eyes lingered too long. Everyone was waiting for something, though no one would say what. That something arrived the night after the funeral. We gathered at the house like always, but the energy was wrong. Too quiet, too controlled. My grandmother sat in her chair, hands folded, staring straight ahead. My uncle paced. My mom kept checking her phone. Finally, my aunt asked the question no one wanted to ask out loud. Did he really change the will? My grandmother didn't answer right away. When she finally spoke, her voice didn't shake. Yes, and before anyone says anything, he did it years ago. That's when everything cracked. My uncle exploded first, said it wasn't fair, said he'd been promised the house, said he'd given up opportunities to stay close and help the family. My aunt backed him up, saying Grandpa always said the house would stay in the family. My mom stayed quiet, which I later learned was because she already knew. I didn't. The will didn't leave the house to anyone. It ordered it sold. The money split unevenly. Some people got more, some got less. One person got almost nothing, my uncle. He accused my grandmother of manipulation. Said she'd poisoned Grandpa against him. That's when my grandmother finally stood up. I had never seen her raise her voice before. She told him he'd been written out because Grandpa finally got tired of being lied to, because he'd covered for him for years, missed rent, failed businesses, debts that never got repaid, because Grandpa had watched him bully everyone else into silence using guilt and family loyalty. The room erupted, everyone talking at once, old resentment spilling out like they'd been pressurized for decades. My aunt admitted she'd resented my mom since childhood for being the good one. My cousin accused the adults of favoritism. My mom finally snapped and said she'd spent her whole life keeping the peace while being treated like emotional glue instead of a person. Then the secret none of us expected came out. My grandfather had another child. Not an affair in the dramatic sense, but a relationship before my grandparents were married. A daughter he'd helped quietly, financially, for years. Someone none of us had ever met, someone included in the will. The shock was physical, like the air left the room. My uncle laughed like it was a joke, then demanded proof. My grandmother handed him a folder, photos, letters, birth certificate copies. Evidence Grandpa had kept hidden because he believed revealing it would destroy the family. Instead, hiding it had. Over the next weeks, the family imploded in slow motion. Lawyers got involved. People stopped speaking. Stories changed depending on who was telling them. My uncle tried to contest the will and lost. My aunt cut contact with almost everyone. Cousins picked sides based on who they thought would still show up for holidays. I met the woman my grandfather had kept secret months later. She wasn't what anyone expected. She didn't want money, didn't want apologies. She wanted acknowledgement. She said Grandpa had been kind but distant, generous but afraid of losing control, afraid of conflict, afraid of the exact chaos that followed his death. The irony wasn't lost on me. The house sold. The money got distributed. Some people disappeared from my life completely. My grandmother downsized and told me she finally felt free, which broke my heart more than the funeral ever did. What I learned is this: families don't break because of money or secrets. They break because silence gets mistaken for peace, because authority goes unquestioned, because everyone learns to survive instead of be honest. We looked unbreakable because breaking had been postponed, not prevented. And when it finally happened, it didn't come with screaming or slammed doors at first. It came with a quiet question in a living room after a funeral, and the realization that none of us actually knew each other at all.